Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
Hey guys, this is your co-host Ashley Lunar Goddess, Guerrilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average pun-making swearwolf that loves to explore the spookier things in life.
I'm John Thomas, paranormal investigator, super smartass, and film lover extraordinaire.
All right, and I believe we're live. Yay! I'm still learning technology on this one because usually we pre-record, but going to the live stream, we've done a few now, but I see me on the screen. I think that means it's live. Okay, right. Here we go.
We are.
That's me all the time. I'm always messing something up.
It's a life. I feel like we do the best we can, right? So here we go. I'm going to get us going. What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our spiritual pals? In today's episode, we'll be discussing mediumship and tarot with our special guest, whom some of you might recognize from TikTok, Instagram, and his own podcast, which is awesome, by the way. Welcome to 3Haunted, Memo the Medium.
How's it going? I feel like I look extra ratchet today because of my allergies.
I think you look great.
People are going to be like, who the fuck is this?
Well, for those who don't know who you are, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm fucking Memo.
And this is why I love him.
And I'm a medium and a tarot reader. And yeah, that's what I do every day.
When did you start? Like, how long have you been doing this?
I started doing tarot online right when Corona was going crazy. And then it gained some traffic, and well, here I am now.
Yeah, let's talk about where you're at now, because I know we've talked about this on previous episodes, Sean, but I get on TikTok and I've been fascinated by how many mediums and all metaphysical gifts you can find people doing live. And I was like, I didn't know that was a whole world. It's its own genre on TikTok. And so I would stay up till 2 or 3 a.m. watching just different people scrolling through. What is this about? And I remember coming across yours, and your energy and vibe was so awesome. You're smiling, you're very honest and direct with people, and I love it. You also talk to people in a way that helps them understand, because I feel like in the world of metaphysical, I feel like even though it's not entertainment per se, it's people aren't always putting on, I feel like it equates to entertainers and performers a lot, where people think, well, you're not doing something real, so I shouldn't have to pay you. And I love how you explain it to people time and time again, how your value and worth is something. And I think you relate it in a way that makes sense. Do you want to talk about that? Because I think you say it better than I ever could.
Yeah. So there's this sense where everyone needs something, right? We all need something. We need, food to eat, But when it comes to things like what I do, people think that they're entitled to it just because we're out there, and it's no, I change things in my life, in my everyday life. I try to stay away from drama. I don't always respond to people when my ego wants to respond, when people are being assholes and you're gotta say something, but then you're no, you gotta keep the peace, you gotta keep your vibes high, you can't let your ego take control. And these things sound like they're easy to do, but they're not, And then, of course, with your practicing and the meditations and taking care of your body, all 4 of your bodies, your mental body, physical body, spiritual body, and emotional body, and knowing when your limits are, it's just a lot of work. And people don't realize that. So they come up to us and they're like, I need this. And I'm like, yeah, I need $1 million. But who's going to give me that,
Yeah, I think the thing that's always bothered me is, like you said, people feel entitled to it. But also, I really don't like when the first response I hear to people with gifts is, well, I can't believe you would charge for helping people. And all I can immediately think of is like, doctors, anybody?
Right.
Like people, like you said, people have to eat. People have, like, we live in a system that is reliant not on trade anymore. It's
Right.
not like I could be like, here, Memo, I'm going to give you fresh fruit. Can you give me a reading? It's like Memo needs to pay rent. Memo needs to
Exactly.
buy clothes and food. So, yeah, that always gets to me when it's like, well, they shouldn't be charging to build up people's hopes. And it's like, are they building up people's hopes, though? I don't know.
The one that pisses me off is when people come through and they're like, I absolutely do not believe in what you do. I'm a skeptic. I know that it's fake, but give me a free reading to see if you're real. I'm like, bitch. What the fuck is wrong with you? Did you really just say that? Like, you need a... what do you think this is? Like, no, that's not happening. First of all, you telling me I'm fake, and then you want me to give you something for free? Like, not happening. And if you don't advocate for yourself, who is? So...
And that's the one thing I've noticed in today's society. It's really hard to advocate for yourself. I feel like a lot of people feel like I can't stand up for myself. I can't say, no, these are my boundaries. And I think that's where people need help the most, learning to say, no, these are my boundaries. And you should have boundaries too.
Right, exactly.
So you said you started doing the online world for readings and stuff around the pandemic. But how long have you been researching and practicing personal practice with that?
Ever since I was a child. So I was the little chubby gay kid that nobody wanted to play with. And I also grew up dyslexic. I have a learning disability. So my parents would make me read books all the time. It was like, no, it's not about TV. It's about books. Because, I grew up in a Latino household and they think that you're stupid because you can't read and you're in third grade and you should be able to read better. So that's what got me into this spiritual world and paranormal and metaphysics, because I would go to the library and I would always look for scary books. Or I would always look for the spiritual books. Or I would always, and it was like Harry Potter and stuff. And so I started reading on all of this from a really, really young age.
I love it. You're like, I'll read, but I'm going to read on my terms what I'm reading.
Right. And they were like, as long as they're reading, I don't give a fuck.
Read what you want. I mean, that's great that they encourage that. I'm also in a Latin background. I'm Mexican American, and in my house, that wasn't my mom was cool. She didn't care what I read, but the brujeria and the stuff like that wasn't really anything in that world. Is that's a no. You don't read that. You don't read about witchcraft or any of that stuff, or which this kind of world would have fallen into back then. I think that my family and the world itself is coming around to being a little bit more accepting and understanding that, hey, these metaphysical gifts, they're not like a demon possession. I'm not possessed by 15 demons if I can feel energy. That's just a different facet of myself that we didn't talk about before.
Right. There's still those hardcore Christians out there, though, that are like, let me tell you a quick story. I just went to my barber last week, and he's super Christian. And every time I'm there, he starts talking about the Bible. And he knows what I do for work, right? And it's kind of like, those little digs, those under digs where he's trying to talk shit but not talk shit directly. So I'm very combative. That's my nature, I'm an Aries all the fucking way. I like to argue with people, but I don't argue unless I know what I'm talking about, right? So he's talking about people who can tell the future and talk to dead people. That's not something that you should be doing based on the Bible, right? And I was like, first of all, I talk to Jesus every day, bitch. Don't tell me how I need to love on Jesus and what my connection with God, Jesus, Spirit needs to be. Second of all, you're bragging about the Bible because you're talking about how the Bible tells you about what's going to happen in the future, how the world is going to end. Aren't you doing the same thing, just using a book, though?
They're relying on somebody else's psychic abilities.
Right, you're literally doing the same thing. So contradictory much?
And that's how a lot of it was, right? Like you hear a lot of about like a lot of the stories in the Bible, and it was, they heard from this burning bush, or they heard, a message directly from God. And, you hear people talking about how they communicate with spirit. And I'm like, that's probably very similar. They're
Right.
connecting with something. And so for you, when you say that spirit is talking to you, because I know I've heard you say that a few times on TikTok, you're getting a message from spirit. When
Mhm.
you get those messages, does it come in the form of like feelings, or how do you, when you say you're getting a message?
So we all have different clairs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all our clairs are working, all our chakras are working while we're doing a reading. So my stronger clairs are everything besides seeing. So I don't see things much, right? Mostly I feel something, or mostly I just know something, which I feel was kind of difficult to trust myself in the beginning when I was starting to do mediumship, because I'm like, okay, this random ass information is coming into my head. How the fuck do I trust it? Right? And it's just like, you just gotta go with it. If it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong, and you keep on moving. It doesn't happen often when I'm wrong, but or when spirit's wrong, but yeah, it just comes in many different ways. Sometimes I taste things as well. Sometimes I smell things as well. Lately, it has been happening, and I think that as we evolve, as we go through our spiritual journeys, regardless of what we practice or what we do, we will receive messages in different ways, shapes, and forms. And recently, I've been hearing things more, and I've been seeing things a little bit more. So that's still something that I'm still. I mean, obviously, if you see something, it's kind of easy to go with it. So it's a lot easier. But when you're hearing something, it's like, did I really hear that? What's happening?
When you hear it, like, is it like you hear someone talking near you, or does it like, because I've always been curious about that.
Yeah, this is actually something new that's been happening to me, and it just started happening a few days ago. And you know how you have those videos on TikTok where people put their little subtitles on the screen, but it's like the robot talking?
Yeah.
That's how it sounded like the other day.
Oh, wow.
And then a few days before that, it was, some singing, random singing in my ear. So I'm still getting used to that. I'm still trying to figure that out. The last time it happened with the robot voice, it was really just a couple words that I understood. So, but I'm not obsessing about it. I'm not sitting here like, okay, I need to own in on it. I need to make it better. I need to find a way to make it strong. No, I'm just gonna let it happen. People tend to obsess about things when it comes to their spirituality. People tend to be too hard, or overthink, or overanalyze what their abilities are and how they're happening and what we need to do to develop them more. And it's like, no, you just need to keep doing what you're doing. If it's meant to happen for you, it's gonna happen. It might just be a phase where I'm listening, where I'm hearing something random for a month, and then I'll never hear something again. Or it might be that it's developing into something bigger, and I don't know, and I won't know until whatever happens happens.
Yeah, I feel like too, oftentimes it becomes like training a muscle where like if you focus too hard on training it, you can completely just destroy the muscle group, right?
Hmm.
But if you just kind of lean into using that muscle group, naturally it'll strengthen on its own.
Yeah, when it shows up, use it, trust it, and you'll be good. If it's supposed to stay, it'll stay.
Have you found the more you use your gifts and you connect with spirit that new gifts emerge, or does it just kind of it goes how it goes?
I think it goes how it goes. I went through, and this is the first time that I've ever felt that I was in a depressive episode. And last month, toward the end of October, I just hit like this downfall where I didn't want to talk to anybody. I did a whole bunch of different changes in my life that I knew that I needed to make, but it led to this depressive situation where I was just in bed all the time and eating and gained a whole bunch of weight and just playing video games and chilling. And I didn't really use my abilities throughout that time, for almost a whole month. But then when I got back up, when I reminded myself I needed to keep going, and I kept going, and I started using my ability again, that's when I started getting different things come up, different abilities, different messages, different ways of delivering messages. So honestly, I think it just depends on everyone's own personal path. Because I sat there and worried for a little bit, and I'm like, fuck, I haven't done mediumship or tarot in a little bit. Like, am I going to be okay when I go back to it? And it just turns out that it was even better after I came back to it, after I took some time off. And maybe I just needed that time off for myself to clear my own mind, to clear my own mental health, to get better mentally, emotionally, spiritually. But I never expected anything like that to happen after that.
So it sounds like you needed really just like a reset. And I feel like when you're helping others, it really is easy, right? To just like forget to help your, like to make sure you're nurturing yourself. And
I don't know because I'm I'm an Aries, so I'm very self-aware. I know when I need something. I know when I need, and I'm usually, besides my animals, I'm usually like the first person on my mind, and everybody and everything else comes second. So yeah,
I feel
don't
like I
think,
need to channel some of you in my life.
yes, when I was younger, I was always very self-involved. It was always me first. And I guess it wasn't, I didn't always do that in the right way when I was younger, but I know how to do it correctly now that I do what I do for a living.
Okay. Now, when you talk to spirit, because I've talked to a few people where they define spirit differently, and I feel like it's a personal definition. For you, what does spirit mean to you? Like when you say I'm talking to spirit or connecting with spirit?
It means different things depending on what's happening, right? When I'm communicating with my own spirit team, it's everyone on my spirit team. So my loved ones, my ancestors, God, Source, my guides. That's what personally spirit means for me. But when I'm doing readings, spirit can mean either my spirit team, or it can mean everyone else's loved ones, or everyone else's guides, or God for that person specifically.
Right. Was it? I know John has heard me obsess about this to an extent, but like, is it hard? Was it hard for you to connect to your ancestors? Because I constantly am told I need to connect to my ancestors, and I'm like, I have no idea how. But was it something you always were able to do, or
No, I
no?
think it is hard, to be honest.
That's an honest answer, and I like
Yeah.
it.
From my experience, I think it is hard because I know that they're here, but I don't always get messages from them. So I definitely do think it's hard when it comes to that. I do find myself, when I do feel that I need to connect with them or I need a message from them, that's when I'll go to, a tarot reader or someone that specializes in that and connecting and helping others connect with their ancestors. But that is not one of my fortes.
Yeah. I've been told a few times, girl, you need to connect with your ancestors. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. But I'm like, I can't even connect like intentionally with things. I don't know how I'm going to connect to a specific. I feel like that's hard.
So what might help would be a past life regression. So if you do a past life regression, if they're a legit reader, they'll be able to tell you a lot of the things that happened to you in your past, who was in your past, just random shit that you're just like, holy fuck, I never would have thought about some of these things. And I would recommend going to a few of them that you know. That's what I did when I did my first past life regression. I got all this information that was just kind of like believable but unbelievable at the same time. So I went to two other past life regressionists after that, and a lot of similarities between all three of the readings came up. So I was like, okay, you're right.
All right, I see all you.
Right. And I think that's another thing that people need to keep in mind is that when you're looking for your readers, it's okay to be a certain level of skeptic. Like it's a healthy skeptic. Don't be gullible. Don't fucking believe everything that they're telling you, because that's what happens on social media. You'll see all these readers. They're like, oh my God, you're not going to get pregnant today. Okay, maybe it's gonna be tomorrow. It's just like all these crazy, and then people believe and just go off of that. And it's like, no, it might, your energy can change any moment. You have to listen to yourself as well. Don't just wholeheartedly believe a random stranger. You know, you can't do that for yourself, because then you're not helping yourself. Then you're not moving yourself forward. There's a lot of that goes on social media, which sometimes upsets me, but I try to stay away from. I try not to watch any other mediums or tarot readers on TikTok, because it's real easy to scope out ones that are not real.
I mean, we've talked about that. Like, I will see countless people, like, they'll shuffle their deck and then just set it down and start grabbing the top card and answering yes or no, boom, 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 fire, yes, no, and to really hard questions like, is my husband cheating on me? Yes, next question.
Yes. Oh my
And
God.
like, should I leave so and so? Yes, honey, next question. And it's like, what? Like, this woman obviously is coming to you because she's having really hard, heavy, heartfelt doubts about her marriage, and you're just so quickly, not you, but like the person is like, yep, divorce him, yep, he's cheating on me, sorry honey, next question. And it's like, whoa.
Yup, that drives me fucking crazy. The first thing that people need to know about spirituality and receiving readings from a legit psychic or medium or whatever other spiritual gifts that these people claim to have is that you're always going to feel better coming out of that reading than you did before you came into this reading if they are legit. Even if they have to tell you you're about to lose your job. They're still going to tell you in a way that you're going to know the truth, but you're also going to feel helpful and better because spirit, God, source, whatever it is that you believe in are giving us the right words to help you to stay motivated, to stay positive, to stay in a good frame for yourself, to help move yourself forward. Because if I do a reading on someone and I'm just like, yeah, you're not going to get pregnant, and then I just move on, what does that do to that person? That's going to leave them with doubts. That's going to make them feel worse. You don't know that person's life, right? Even as a psychic, I don't fucking know everyone's life and what they've gone through. That woman could have been going through many different treatments for many fucking years and spent so much motherfucking money, and then she comes to the psychic that she thinks is nice or real, and they just say no straight up and they move forward. That person's now going to be upset with themselves. Now there's going to be a depression. Now they're going to be mad at other people. Now they're going to stop trying, right? Maybe it wasn't meant for them to be pregnant this year. Maybe it's going to happen next year. But because this stupid ass reader said no and moved on like 2 seconds, now they're messing themselves up. Now this person isn't doing what they divinely need to do for themselves in order to obtain the things that they want in their lives. And that really pisses me off.
Well, I remember someone asked you too, like, do you do yes or no readings or cards? And you're like, no. And I think the best thing I heard you, the way you said it was, could you imagine if someone came, and typed in, am I going to die? And I was like, yes, next question.
Right.
You're like, that person's going to want to know more. There's more to that story. There's more to that answer, and they deserve that.
And, when people come to you with those kinds of questions, you don't know what mental space they're in or what headspace they're in. So if I just give them obviously you're going to die at some point, but you don't know what their mental health is. That person could commit suicide tomorrow because I fucking told them that they're going to die anyway. It's very dangerous. Not... Taking advantage of people's vulnerabilities is a very dangerous thing to do. And I can only educate so many people on it every day, and it's terrible. And it's these readers who are just trying to, readers, because they're not real readers, who are just trying to gain clout for themselves or get a certain amount of following. I saw this girl who was like, it was something about pregnancy questions, right? Am I going to get pregnant? And it was the yes or no reading. So she's like, no. But I can tell you how. If you really want an in-depth reading, make sure you're paying $45 to my thingy right now. I'm like, oh my God, this person is so horrible. I can't believe she's doing it. Like,
I saw there was a lady who was, I think she was in a hotel room, but she was doing readings and her husband was answering all the questions and stuff. And she said it to like 3 people where she's like, oh, honey, you have a curse on you. If you'd like to get it removed, you need to send me this much money. You better send it right away because you're going to want to get that removed or bad stuff's going to happen to you. And I'm like, are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Like, that is awful.
It's so horrible. And there's a lot of that going on social media, unfortunately. And then there's a lot of gullible people that fall for it.
Yeah. I mean, We all go. And like you said, it's a vulnerable. For me, anybody reaching out to a reader, they're not reaching out because they feel secure and happy in everything in their lives.
Right.
They're reaching out because there's something they're questioning or they're feeling lost about. So they're already vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard when you see those people that are obviously like preying on that. It's like, oh, leave them alone. That's so
Yeah.
mean.
It's annoying as fuck.
That's what I love about your readings, though, because like I said, I've sat there and listened to yours, and like whenever you're live, I'll go if I see that you're live, I'll go listen to yours, and even when you say things that are not what would normally be like a positive, right? It's not the happiest answer. You give people hope, and it doesn't feel like a false hope. It's like, here's where you're at. Here's what I'm seeing on that. That's maybe like a no or a not right now, but here's a way to look at it and spin it so that it does work in your favor.
Right.
And I love that you provide that, because I've never seen someone walk away from any of your readings and be like, you suck, you're me, Memo. They're like, oh, wow, he said no, but thank you so much. I feel optimistic.
Right. Yeah. And that's something that's very important to me when I when I pray. So I always meditate, and before I do readings for anyone, whether it's a client, whether it's on live, the biggest thing for me is, Spirit, give me the right words that are going to help these people or this person, because sometimes there are things that I wouldn't say normally as, just me, the person that just randomly come up. I've used words where I'm just like, I've never used that word in my life before.
You're like, thanks,
I didn't even
Spirit.
know that. There's been moments where I'm like, wait, is that a real word? Like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck did I just say?
That's awesome.
But I rely on Spirit for that a lot as well. And I think that any real medium or psychic does too.
So what does mediumship mean to you? Like, what does that entail?
Connecting with your loved ones. It's about knowing that there is more to life than just this physical world. And knowing that just because your loved one isn't here physically, they're always gonna be here with you anyway. And yes, it's about letting people know you're gonna grieve. When you lose a loved one, you're gonna grieve them for the rest of your life while you're here in the physical world. But that doesn't mean that you should just always grieve in a negative way, that you should always just think about how they're gone, that you should always just think about how they left, that you should always just think about were they suffering or not, or were they upset that I wasn't there, or all these negative things. You can think that, but always it's about helping people redirect themselves and reminding themselves. But I also shared a lot of beautiful moments with this person. But I also shared a lot of inside jokes, or a lot of favorite foods, or little random nicknames that they used to call me.
So when you connect to people's loved ones to do mediumship, do you channel it, or is it you're connecting with them external to you?
What do you mean?
We've talked to a medium where she she'll sometimes channel. Like the
Like
channel.
she'll allow Spirit to use her body?
Yeah, like to talk.
I see.
And so for you, is it more so you connect with them external, or have you ever channeled?
That's such a... I don't believe in... We have free will here in the physical world, right? So unless I give Spirit the ability to take over my body, Spirit won't take over my body. And I don't believe in letting Spirit taking over my body. That just freaks me the fuck out. That's not happening to me. But my definition for channeling is when they're giving me messages, because I'm still receiving those messages. It's just not via them taking over my body, I was just thinking about that too, because I'm a little bit skeptic over all that still. Remember when I said it's okay to be a certain level of skeptic? That's part of my skepticism. But I also do understand and realize that everyone connects to Spirit in their own unique way. And just because I don't understand it, and just because I don't believe in it, doesn't mean that it's not real. It doesn't mean that it's not happening. I don't usually talk about those kinds of things because I don't know about it, and my human brain, when I'm not in spirit world, can't comprehend it. So if I can't comprehend it, then there's no point in focusing on it too much. But I do think that it just depends on the reader, because all our abilities are very unique to us. You're never going to find a psychic or a medium who does things or receives messages in the same exact way, which I think is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like, this is going to sound wrong, but like, it's like a buffet. Like, what I connect with, like, as a person who needs help, I may not connect with tarot cards, like, give a reading to me, please, because I feel lost and I need an answer to this question. I may not want, I think I saw some lady throwing, like, chicken bones. And so it's like, I may be so hard skeptical about the bones that I'm not focusing on the connection with the reader, right? So for me, though, I might be scrolling and say, oh, hey, this person's got a really beautiful deck. For some reason, that's caught my eye. Let's talk to this person. So I get it. The different unique gifts, but also the way someone talks, their energy. Like your personality may not work for everybody. I fucking love it. I think it's phenomenal. But some people need a different kind of personality when they are talking. So
yeah, absolutely.
So have you reached the point in where you're at, not to say it's the end point, but have you reached the point where most of your personal practice is like self-guided, or do you still go to like resources?
My practice has always been self-guided.
Nice.
Always been self-guided. Especially after the mediumship came through, and I realized that I had the mediumship abilities, it was very important to me to not, I did read books, I did read books. I still read books every once in a while when I need like a refresher. But it's always been self-guided. Even the tools that I use in the books, from other people, I don't really learn from other people because I rather trust my spirit team. But a lot of those are tweaked to what is going to work for me. For instance, my mentor, Pat Longo, gave me this exercise to use when I first met her and I first started going to her. And it's called Surround, Ground, and Shield. You surround yourself in God's light to protect yourself. You ground yourself to be present, and you shield yourself from anybody's energy, from anybody's negativity, right? When I started using the practice, I right away started using started losing my mediumship abilities. I wasn't feeling anything anymore. I wasn't knowing anything anymore. After a few weeks, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Was I just imagining this for like 6 months? Like, what the fuck is happening? And then I thought about what were the changes that I've made in the past few weeks in my spiritual practice. And it was that surround, ground, and shield meditation. And so I started doing, there's 3 steps to it. So I did the steps one by one. One day I would do one step, the next day I would do one step, and the last day I would do the other step. And I quickly realized that the shielding myself wasn't just shielding me from anybody's negativity, it was also shielding me from feeling anything from others' loved ones. So I'm like, that's not happening. I need to get rid of this shit right the fuck now.
Which just means it speaks to that you had a really strong shield up. Like you were effectively shielding so much that everything was out.
I never looked at it that way now that you mentioned. I looked at it as, damn, I'm stopping myself from doing readings. I need to stop this shit right now.
Yes, but I also look at it as you have some pretty strong gifts.
Absolutely.
Not only did you block out just people energy, you were blocking everything. Like that's pretty. I need to learn to do that.
I never thought about it that way till right now. But yeah, the moment that I realized that, it was like, okay, I need to change this up right now. And it just validated to me on why I need to follow my own intuition. I need to be self-guided. I need to allow my spirit team to be that teacher for me, right? And a lot of people don't realize that when they're starting their spiritual practices or unraveling their abilities, because people will drop hundreds and thousands of dollars on these teachers, and it's like, yes, awesome, go with the teacher, but also trust yourself, because the greatest teacher is your own spirit team.
I think we've talked about that when it comes to like tarot cards too, because it's like, okay, drawing a card, I feel really compelled, these cards mean this. I know, John, you've mentioned that too, where it's like, I really feel this card means something else, but the book says this. And it's like, you got to go with what the spirit is sending to you versus what like a book said. Because maybe that's what it meant for that person who wrote the book, but every person's going to have their own interpretation.
It depends on what deck of cards you're using. I definitely do believe in going with your intuition, whether it's with tarot decks or with its oracle decks. But if I pick up this card and I tell you the King of Swords means that you're using your intellect, it is the King of Swords. That the King of Swords means using your passion. The King of Swords isn't about passion mostly. It's about your intellect and knowing how to use your words and knowing how to tweak things because you're so smart, because you have so much wisdom, right? So it really just kind of depends. It really just kind of, and then you can use. How did I use to explain it? It's kind of like an outline, you know. It's like a big point. This is what this card means specifically, but there's still bullet points under what the card means, and that's where your intuition comes in. This is the main focus of what this card means, but my intuition is still telling me other things, not just what is tied to the tarot card's meaning. But when it comes to oracle decks, absolutely, because oracle decks, they're all different, right? So everyone has a different message, you know, spread messages of peace and harmony. And that can mean different things for different people. And if you're using oracle decks, it's very important to rely on your intuition, because depending on the person that you're reading, it's going to have a different meaning for different people. Or it might have the same meaning for 3 people in a row if the same card comes out, which doesn't usually happen.
It's a group, it's a community reading at that point.
Right. Exactly.
I think because there was one of your decks I had seen and I was like, wow, that's really beautiful. What is that? And I started it on Amazon. At some point I just need to add it to my cart. But I'm not really a tarot reader, but there's certain decks that I've seen where it's like, I feel compelled I need that. So I'm just kind of going to listen to myself, I guess.
Build up a collection.
I know. I'm just getting there like, you read tarot? And it's like, I like the cards.
Just bought them for the artwork.
The beautiful art. Bought them for the artwork.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I buy my cards. That's how I buy my decks. I go based off of what I feel connected to, whether it's the artwork, whether it's where they're from, whether it's the subject of the cards. I have a lot of dog decks because I love dogs.
I love that you said your dog is one of your soulmates, one of your soul family.
Yeah, he's definitely, I think that the thing that social media has corrupted people with is that our soulmates are our romantic partners. And that's not, oh, yes, your soulmate can be a romantic partner, but that's not the only that's not the only soulmate you'll ever have in your life, you know? There are many different soulmates. It can be your child who just understands you and you connect with and you're always there for each other and you can read each other. Or it can be your doggy, or it can be a parent, or it can be a best friend. It can be a fucking hamster. You know, it just and it's because we all have souls, you know, we all connect. It's so weird just how even the soul inside of an animal can still find you in a different life. That has always fascinated me. It's kind of insulting to kind of just say that only a romantic partner can be a soulmate, because you have so many soulmates and you can have so many at the same time too, you know?
Yeah, I think about like soul families, that feeling that we get, right? I think, at least for me, that's how I've started to associate with it, when like you meet someone and to me they feel like home. Like you don't know them, you know nothing about them, but it's like you meet that person and you instantly feel like, I want to hug you, and you feel like home. For me, that's like a tell sign that like, I think our souls might be traveling together. I don't know. That's just me, though. I don't know much about this world.
Not to sound like a sap, but I think, Ashley, you and I are somewhat soulmates there. Definitely.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Our soul family. And I was having a really hard time with like my sleep and dreams, and he actually messaged me and was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "How do you know I'm not okay?"
You know that? Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that always freaky? Like, holy shit. It's like amazing, but still freaky at the same time. Like, how the fuck do they know? You know?
That's how I feel with you, though. Like whenever you're doing stuff like on your readings and your lives, I'm like, how does he know this? It's like he's piercing people's souls. It's so amazing.
It's all spirit. It's all spirit. I always remind people to always think their spirit team and their loved ones, because yes, I'm the one giving you a physical message, but if they didn't exist, I wouldn't have a message to give you.
Do you ever receive messages when people want you to contact like their loved ones, or when someone does present themselves to you like a spirit? Do you ever have messages that like you just don't want to relay, or?
All the time.
Oh no.
All the time. But that's why I rely heavily on spirit giving me the right verbiage and words to use. Because I don't want to tell people that they're going to lose their job. I don't want to tell people that they're not going to get pregnant. I don't want to tell people that their person is cheating on their ass. Like, I don't want to do any of those things. Like, I'm going to use this as an example. I had a lot of issues with mediumship readings over the summer, because I was getting a lot of children that passed away. And I fucking hated doing those, because it's really hard to not feel your own emotions when you're talking to someone who lost their 3-year-old. When you're talking to someone who has had so many miscarriages. When you're talking to someone who had their 21-year-old for 21 years of their fucking life, and then suddenly they die in a car crash. Those are messages that I'm not... Obviously, I have to do them, and I want to do them because I want to remind their loved ones that they're still here, just in a different form. But they're readings that I'm not fond of, because I'm still human and I'm still going to have my own emotions. And it's hard to... when I'm doing readings, I disconnect from my own ego, my own feelings, my own thoughts, my own emotions. And for some reason, when it comes to children that way, it just fucking gets to me.
Yeah, that would wreck me.
Yeah.
How do you process that, though? How do you, like, make sure you're okay after those?
I think as we do what we do, I've only been doing mediumship for 2 years now. So I think as we continue doing what we do, we realize that there are things that we should include in our practice. And after going through all of that, I did start including in my practice to let go of my own emotions. Because when I first started doing mediumship is I still want people to remember that I'm human, and I still want people to remember that I have empathy for them, that I can feel for them, that I understand or try to understand what they're going through. And I didn't always leave my emotions to the side, because I felt that in order for people to connect to you, they have to feel that you're a human, right? When I was doing those readings and when they all just started coming to me, I was legit crying like 24/7 after the readings, and I would go and I started drinking a whole lot because I'm like trying to forget about the reading today. And I would go out with friends and I would get super drunk. And then, of course, because I'm drunk now, here I am crying about the kids that fucking died,
Oh, no.
So, it was, I feel like that's another situation that contributed into my depression that I just got myself out of.
I mean, not even in a metaphysical way. I struggle with that myself. I sometimes get my feelings too much, where it's like you try to, like, I volunteer to help, like, communities that have food insecurity issues, and like try to help kids and stuff like that. And I try to do all I can to like volunteer and help. And at some point I sit there and I catch myself like almost getting into a depressive state, because I'm like, there's so much sadness. There's so much, insecurity and instability, and I can only do so much. And I feel like almost like I'm drowning. So it's like having to remember, like, I'm just one person. I can do the best I can, but I'm just one person. And
Yeah.
It doesn't make it feel any better. You
It
still
doesn't.
feel awful. But you're like, I'm one person, but I still feel awful. My heart hurts.
Yeah.
And then I find myself crying in a room listening to Taylor Swift. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I was on live last night, and that was one of the things that we were talking about, is that you can't help everyone, and it does get you in a depressive situation. But it's very important that you remind yourself of that, because that's going to help you bring you back into a more stable, more positive state of mind, at least.
I love how, I'm not like, at first I was really skeptical that all this stuff was being done on TikTok because I don't understand like how people can connect without seeing another person. But the more I watch it happen, the more I realize that like energy is energy, whether it's happening through in person or, people that are feeling messages from spirit or source or the universe, whatever you want to call it. They're going to say what needs to be said in that moment.
Right.
And I have been watching it for a while now, and I think that, like, this is pretty amazing. Because there are so many people that, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but, like, there are so many people that feel lost and vulnerable and going to the standard, like, Christian church or Catholic church or whatever religion isn't for them.
Right.
Like, that's not their thing. And some people, like myself, I don't really trust going to specific professions to talk things through because it isn't for me and I haven't had the best experiences. And at the end of the day, people receive messages in different ways and they need to listen to themselves and how are they going to best receive it? And I love that there is this community out there that is metaphysical, that is, yes, there's going to be people out there who are full of shit. We know that. That's in every profession.
Just like any profession, yeah.
Yep, it's everywhere. There are going to be those. But ultimately, it is helpful. There are people being helped and just need to hear life advice and life choices and coachings from others that have that care and that open welcomeness and understanding. And I think there is for the legitimate people with metaphysical gifts, there is something genuine in the energy that comes across, that you just feel it. This person's not full of shit.
Right.
Even if they get it wrong.
Right.
Like, you know what? That just didn't translate through, but they're not a full of shit person.
And I think that sometimes people don't realize that with psychics or with mediums, there will be moments where we give you a message and you don't understand that message. There's so much when you're receiving a reading, some people are nervous, some people are excited, some people want to hear only specific things, right? When people have that mindset, they're closing themselves off to some messages. And then when they lose that mindset after a reading, they're like, oh shit, that was real. Like, that's what they said that the other day. I cannot believe I'm just thinking about it 3 days later. I get those messages all the time. And it's okay for people when we're doing a reading to say, you know what, I really don't understand it. And I'm like, okay, let's move on. And then there's been moments where even 10 minutes after the reading was over, they're like, oh shit, you were right. You said this, and I just remembered this. And I think that Spirit does that purposely to keep the reading going even after the reading is over. And I love that.
I think, too, it's like, I know what you want, but here's what you need.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing I love about your Instagram and just the way you operate in general is you give really awesome advice.
Thank you. It's Spirit, though.
You said that there's something you do and you encourage other people to do, and I loved it so much, and I've been doing that lately, is you ask Spirit to...
something magical?
Yeah, to do something magical or beautiful that day. Like, and I love that. Can you explain that a little better? Because I'm going to just totally mess it up.
So, actually, that is something that I saw from a creator on TikTok. There's only a handful of people that I believe are real readers or real witches, and this one came from one of those people. Because I never thought about that before, I mean, I always ask Spirit to bring good things into my life, to bring abundance into my life. And I came across one of her videos and she was like, ask Spirit for something magical and then just be open to it, right? Magic and miracles don't just happen in the form of money or in the form of a new job opportunity or in the form of a romantic partner. They can happen in the form of someone smiling at you at the grocery store and saying that they like your shoes. And when you put yourself in that mindset of something magical is about to happen to me and you receive the smallest thing, I found $1 on the floor. You're like, oh shit, that was the magic, and yeah, and it raises your vibration and it makes you feel better and it makes you think better and it makes you gain momentum and it makes you want to keep asking for these magical moments, right? And you automatically raise your vibration when you do things like that for yourself.
So I was recently on vacation, and so my whole life I've been, and I wanted to share this with you because I thought about you. My whole life I've wanted to encounter a sea turtle because I never thought I was going to actually go in the ocean or do any of that. Like I grew up in like a really small, dry town in Texas. And so I never thought like in my life I would be snorkeling in the ocean. And
Did you go to Hawaii?
yeah, I did.
Oh my god, I was supposed to go to Hawaii, but anyway, continue.
It was my first time there. But so this crazy series of events. We went snorkeling, beautiful reef, and I'm like, this is amazing. But I was so like focused on like, I hope I see a turtle because the lady's like, you got to look for this. I was still enjoying the moment. It felt really surreal, actually. I felt like my body was floating. In more like, I know it was literally floating, but I felt like my brain and everything else was floating too. It felt really magical.
Right.
But that day, I was like, I hope I see a turtle. Spirit, please let me see a turtle. Universe, please let me see a turtle. And I so want to see a turtle. I did not see a turtle. I got out of the water. He was in the, like, he had gone in right after me and with our daughter. And they come back on the boat and they're like, we just saw the biggest turtle. It swam under us. And I'm like,
Oh.
but that was okay because then afterwards, like I was so like sourpuss, not to them, but inside I'm like, oh man, if I hadn't gone out, I would have seen the turtle. And then we saw a bunch of whales and dolphins, and then I forgot my bad attitude. And I'm like, this is magical, right?
Yeah.
I almost missed the magic because I was so hyper focused on the turtle.
Right.
So my other kiddo had been feeling sick that day, so I actually set up another snorkeling thing so that he could go. I didn't want him to miss out. So we did that. And that day I thought of you and I was like, I'm not going to be hyper focused on the turtles. Spirit, please just let me enjoy beauty today. Please help me enjoy just being in the moment and enjoy the beauty and the magic of what I'm in. And I'm like, and here we go. Memo, I swam with like 3 or 4 turtles that day.
Oh, I love that.
And I was like, you brought me turtles. I got out of my own way and I got to see turtles. And I was in tears because I'm that kind of person. And because I'm like, I finally got to see turtles. But I think too, shifting that, like I really want this versus could you just help me be in the moment so I can truly just see magic for what it is.
And there are a couple of things that I always say. One is if you obsess over something, you're lowering your vibration, so you're never going to get what you want. And 2, you have to want what you want so bad that you fucking forget about it. And you just fucking let it happen on its own. Right?
I like that, actually. Want what you want so bad you forget about it.
Yeah. And it works. I mean, you just proved it.
I know. I was like, I want it, and I hope one day that happens. But I just really need to be in the moment and truly just enjoy the magic that is presenting itself to me. So I thought about you. I just wanted you to know I thought about you. I was like, shift my mindset. What did Memo say?
I love that. I love those stories because, you know, it's just crazy how that happens. It's crazy how you can get out of your own way, get out of your own mind, and just ground yourself and remind yourself to express gratitude for what you're already experiencing, for what you already have. And it happened to you the next day. Like, it's crazy how fast it can happen, you know, when you just allow yourself to be grounded and have fun and enjoy life and not obsess over specific things or opportunities or people. And it's just cool. I've always thought, and I think that to me is a miracle.
Yeah, that was so miracle. I was like, now I need to get a sea turtle tattoo. My kids are like, do it. I'm like, yes.
Yes. Did you get it in Hawaii?
No,
I would still have gotten it.
I considered it, but every time I passed a tattoo shop, they were closed. So I was like, that's all right. If it's meant to be, it'll happen. Like I'll find the shop, they'll have I'll connect with whatever style, and I'm like, let's do the turtle.
Right.
So, did you find during your metaphysical journey, was it mostly like high vibrations, you're experiencing spirit and stuff like that, or have you encountered kind of the lower vibration entities as well along your journey?
Not on my journey. I did before my journey, though. Before I started doing what I do right now, I did go through some things where I believe I experienced a demon and where things were just kind of crazy and scary. But with what I do now is my spirit team, they're my gatekeepers, right? So if there is ever a situation where I need to do a mediumship reading for someone who has a loved one with very low vibrations on the other side, I don't lower myself. They just bring up the messages to my vibe. And that's very important to me to do. Because like I said, I've experienced very low vibrations before in my life, and I don't want to go back to that shit.
You're like, you go ahead and bounce them. We don't need that.
Yeah. So that's something that is part of my spiritual practice, where I ask my spirit team every single day to do that for me, so that I don't have to lower my own vibration to get there. Because it's scary when you've experienced that before. Because it's like, if I allow myself to experience it again, what if I just keep experiencing it and then I just go down that scary rabbit hole, and I don't want to ever be there again.
How did you get out of the previous rabbit hole?
I feel like it was just my spirituality. It was just creating a solid spiritual foundation for myself, a spiritual practice for myself, where even if I don't do readings that day, or even if I'm having a hard day, I'll still sit there and I'll still pray to spirit. Maybe today I don't want to meditate because I don't feel like meditating. I'm too lazy. Whatever may be happening in my life at this moment, at least in the shower, I'm gonna remind myself to cleanse myself. Right? The water from the earth is cleansing me. Or, maybe I'm sitting down, I'm gonna talk to my spirit team real quickly and remind myself to stay connected to them, and remind myself to ask them for the things that I need. The bare minimum, just keep me protected, keep me where I need to be. But I also feel that there are a lot of different low vibes, Low vibes doesn't mean that you're experiencing demons all the time. It can mean that you went through a depression. It can mean that you're going through normal human emotions and situations, right? And that, I don't even know how to explain it. That's not a bad thing, You're a spiritual being living in a human world, in a physical world, and you still need to experience those physical human emotions. And there's nothing wrong with that. And acknowledging those, but reminding yourself that you can still get yourself past those is very important. So feel your feelings.
Feel your feelings. I think that's so I did a lot of, this is gonna sound so cliche, but I did a lot of like yogi training to become a yoga teacher. And they don't just teach you like the moving practice. You really have to dive into the spiritual practices as well. And one of the things they do talk about is like, we are divine beings in a human experience. Right. And that by suppressing the feelings and suppressing those emotions, like we're supposed to feel all the emotions, not just joy and happiness and those things. We're supposed to feel it all to have the full experience. And by suppressing that, we start to really create that like lack of balance inside of our bodies, and that messes up our vibrations too. So yeah,
exactly. I always get annoyed when there's spiritual people on TikTok who are like, you can't listen to Adele or Taylor Swift because it's so low vibe, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you need to feel your emotions, bitch. Like,
so low vibe.
If this song that talks about losing a lover, if this song that talks about losing a child is connecting to you and making you feel better and making you feel understood and helping you feel your emotions and helping you process your emotions, that's not a low vibration. That's high as fuck.
That's funny. That's not a low vibration. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like whenever I am feeling anxious or like I start to notice my anxiety going super high, unsteady, I have to like sometimes check myself and say, you know what? As silly as it sounds, when was the last time I actually let myself feel my emotions completely? Is this anxiety building up because I'm suppressing it? I'm pushing it down. So I will actually like listen to all the music that just makes me feel. And if I cry, I cry. Right. And then afterwards, I feel like loads better. It's like, oh my gosh, that was, whew, you feel good, I feel good. That was really cathartic. People probably think I'm a mess, but like I feel so much better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like it's important to do that for ourselves. And I think that's probably why before when I experienced those low vibes is that they were super low because I have always been that I grew up in a tough situation. So I always had to always suppress my emotions and get through things and just, warrior on. And because that's what I did my whole life, it wasn't easy for me to feel my emotions. And because of that, it triggered all the crazy things that I went through when it comes to like paranormal shit. But yeah, it definitely makes a difference. Absolutely.
So I know your awesome podcast. Your awesome podcast talks about, I feel like a lot of the stuff that we all talk about here too. Except you go into also true crime, which we've only dabbled in a little, but not much really. And I know you told me one of the episodes not to listen to before bed if I get scared. And I do. I will totally dream about it. So I need to listen to that one once I'm, earlier in the day.
Right.
So could you tell us more about your podcast?
Yeah, so I actually haven't done it in a while. But my podcast was more of an idea of doing true crime and paranormal and spiritual stories. So I had my co-host and she would do stories that I wouldn't know about, and then I would do stories that she wouldn't know about so that we would have that genuine reaction on the story that we told to one another. But I'm not doing the podcast right now because I don't have a co-host, and it wouldn't be the same if I did it by myself. It would be really weird.
I don't know. You have a really awesome, amazing presence. I think you could carry an episode yourself. But I get it. It's fun to interact with people.
Yeah, and it was very important to me because to create a different atmosphere than most podcasts out there, because most true crime podcasts that are out there, they're fucking good, like Crime Junkies. They're fucking amazing. But it's like very straight to the point, and it's like so many facts, and it feels like it's so scripted at times. Like I'm trying to sound so professional, and I'm like, real people don't sound professional 24/7. Okay,
we say
we talk about crazy shit. We laugh. We have drinks. So it was very important to me to make it like a real person would talk in a real life situation, real thoughts that we have while we're researching this story or while we're listening to the story from one another. Yeah, that was very important to me to have it not be super scripted or super professional. I wanted it to be fun and lighthearted and funny and quirky and all those kinds of things.
So you want it to be you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is what people connect to. I feel like if I actually walked into like one of your lives or talked to you and you were like, because usually I'm used to your hello, welcome everybody. You're like singing and it's amazing and I love it. I don't sing, so that was awful, but you do way better. You're so happy and you laugh. It's great. Like that's what I stay for. I'm just like, oh man, I'm hanging out with the coolest person ever. But he's so nice. And I feel like, I'm not going to lie, like when you've been on live, sometimes I go in like I'm in a cranky mood and I'm grumpy just from the day. And then you're so happy. You're like singing and welcome everybody. And I'm like, by the end of it, I'm smiling and I'm like, this is a better day today.
Well, I love to hear that because that's actually also part of my prayer to spirit is that whoever is exposed to my vibration, to my aura, to my person in any way, shape, or form, it's important for my aura from spirit that spirit gives me to elevate people's vibration just by being exposed to me, right? Whether it's by looking at a picture of me, whether it's by hearing me, whether it's by talking to me, whether it's just by seeing me on a video on TikTok or Instagram. It's one of my priorities. It doesn't matter if people come and purchase a reading from me, or if they want to interact with me, or if they follow me at all, or if they even comment. But it's important that we still help people in some kind of way. And that's something that I ask for from spirit every single day. Every single day.
It's effective. And I feel like spirit's having to over-deliver to change my grumpy mood sometimes. And of like sourpuss coming in, and then I leave and I'm like, hello everybody. They're like, what happened to you? And I'm like, memo effect.
That's so funny.
So one of the people watching, she owns a haunted Airbnb here in California.
Ooh.
She asks, it seems like trauma is a gateway to abilities. Do you agree with that?
It just depends on that person's experience. And it just depends on that person's divine path, because I can have so much trauma in the world, and just because I have so much trauma in the world doesn't mean that I'm going to have this random ability to talk to dead people, or this random ability to tell the future, or this random ability to give spiritual healing or energy healing. It's hard to say. I can only speak for what I've gone through in my own journey. We all have our own abilities. All of us, regardless of any trauma, regardless if we went through 75 years of trauma, or if we went to 2 months of trauma, or no trauma at all in our lives. We all have our own abilities for ourselves. But trauma doesn't make it a gateway. Trauma doesn't mean just because I've been through all this in my life. Teresa Caputo is a really good example. Teresa Caputo always talks about how she has had the best fucking life. Her parents were always there for her. Her parents are still alive, but she's almost 60, and her parents are still up and living and doing amazing. And she's always talking about how lucky she was. She was never bullied. She never had to miss out on anything. She's always had everything that she's wanted and needed in her life. And still does, right? But she has this amazing ability to still be a medium, and she fucking tours, and she's still fucking touring, and she's doing all these amazing things for people. But trauma does not always, again, it just depends on what your true divine path is here in the physical world.
And can I, from my perspective, I almost feel like people that have a lot of trauma in their present life, it almost makes it harder for me. It seems like a lot of people have to go through that rabbit hole of dark journey to get through, and they have to deal with their own healing and all of that built up trauma just to unblock their shit so that they can connect to their abilities. It just seems like everyone I've talked to that has had that traumatic past or hard life, they really have a lot of personal work they have to do first, a lot more, right? Just to be able to get to those abilities so they're not completely flooded by the trauma and the vibrations of that.
And no, yeah, absolutely. Because I can relate to that. Because like I said, I grew up the way that I grew up, and it made me build this tough exterior where I didn't feel my emotions, where I needed to compete with everyone, where I needed to be better than everyone just to get ahead for myself, because I thought that was a right way to do things. So that, along with, growing up, how I grew up, and then all that additional mental trauma that I gave myself as well, that blocked me from my abilities, that blocked me from being able to do what I do today. And then when I finally started, and I said, fuck this, I need to heal myself. I need to feel my emotions. I need to be the real me. I need to trust myself. I need to not worry so much about what other people are saying, doing. I need to not be so competitive with everyone. I need to not be so egotistical all the time. And I need to not have a wall up 24/7 and think that there's always some kind of hidden agenda from other people that I just met, or other people that I have already known for forever. When I finally allowed myself to say, you know what, I'm just gonna love myself, trust myself, feel my emotions, cry when I need to fucking cry, get mad when I need to fucking get mad, and take a day off if I need to take a day off. Really quickly, things turned around for me. It was just like, it literally was like switching a light switch on and off. And I feel that people that have gone through that trauma, because there has been so much pent up, when you finally do the hard thing and start feeling your emotions and start healing, and you're consistent with it and devoted to it, things turn around for you so much quicker than you ever thought they would. Ever.
Ever. But it starts with that first decision, right? Like, it doesn't just fall into place. I think that, like, for me, the universe sends you all sorts of serendipities when you make that first step. When you say, this is what I'm choosing to do. Then it's like, all right, here we go. We're rolling, baby. But it's up to us to first say, I got to deal with my stuff. I have to, I want to make that change, and I'm going to. I love that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, I know you communicate with spirit. Have you had any paranormal experiences?
I do all the time. I mean, I'll even have them sometimes on my lives.
I love how you say it so calm all the time. That shit
Yeah.
scares me.
I was actually there is this video that I posted where I caught a little bit of something on TikTok. Someone had given me an idea off of a TikTok video that I saw. They gave me an idea of a video that I wanted to do. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do this video with ghosts. So I set up my station, where I'm at right now. I put up my phone and I start recording and I have ghost on my lap and we're talking. And out of nowhere, we hear the fucking dishes fall in the kitchen. The kitchen is downstairs. And in the video, you can see, even Ghost is like, we're both looking at each other like, what the fuck?
Ghosts is like, did you hear that? Are you gonna handle that?
Yeah. Literally what happened, I was like, Ghost, did you hear that? And he's like, and then he just starts barking and runs off.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it happens all the time, especially when you do what I do. I don't see things often, but I will see things out of the corner of my eye, or things in the bathroom will fall. Things in the kitchen will move around. Things here in my room will move around. It happens all the time.
That's how I don't get how you can watch the paranormal investigation shows right before bed. I remember you were doing that on your live. You're like, I can't go to sleep. Let's watch a paranormal investigation. I'm like, what?
I do the same thing. Don't bother
calming.
with
that. It's so calming. I don't know why. It's just so fun to do that. And I like to watch animated horror stories on YouTube. And they're just so fucking... There's been moments that I have gotten freaked out. Because when I forget to, set a sleep timer on my TV, there'll be moments that I remember one time I randomly woke up. And the whole screen was dark except for, the scary-looking devil on the TV. And I look up and I'm like, oh, shit!
You scared yourself.
I'm like, you dumb bitch. You forgot to put on your sleep timer.
I've done that too.
Awesome.
It's
You
so
have?
cool, man. Yes, it's so fucking scary, I swear.
That's
It is.
hilarious.
It's like you just woke up and you're groggy and still stupid as fuck because you don't know what's going on.
Right.
And then you look up to your TV and there's a fucking demon on the TV. You're like, oh fuck, what's happening?
You
It's
throw
my
the
time.
remote.
I'm sorry. Yep. I'm coming, Lord. I'm coming.
Yeah, it's happened before. So now I don't make that mistake. I have to remember to put my sleep timer on.
Oh, man. Okay, so we always ask all of our friends that come on to this show on the podcast, what is your favorite horror movie? For friends that we know are into horror. You already called it out earlier.
It's hard. So. I think maybe The Conjuring. Maybe The Conjuring 2. Maybe The
You
Conjuring
go straight
2.
for the hard ones.
I loved The Conjurings. The last one I wasn't that fond of, but I think the second one was my favorite one. Yeah, I feel like it's hard to find really good horror films, or maybe I'm just not into movies like that.
I really appreciate you coming on. I know it's kind of like random when I'm on TikTok. Hey, you want to be on my podcast?
Right.
But I appreciate how nice you were about it. You're like, sure, let's do it. So, yeah, because I had a feeling just talking to you would be really awesome. And your personality and your energy just is so on, you see what you get. I don't feel like there's anything hidden, oh my gosh, you're going to turn the screen off and be like, these bitches. Or you might. I don't know. But at least I feel like we would feel it. You would say that, these bitches.
Right.
You seem very genuine. That's the word I was.
Thank you.
I feel that you're very genuine. What is the best way if people want to connect with you or find out more about you? What's the best way they can reach you?
Usually either through my website, memothemedium.com, or my TikTok, Memo the Medium.
Memo the Medium is right. And be very careful on the TikTok, my friends, because Memo is so amazing that people have created hack accounts. A lot of duplicate accounts because I've gotten 5 different follows just from interacting with you from memos, and I'm like, that's not you. But so just be very careful.
Don't put your shit out there. In the comments, everyone's like, talking about how their mom died or like when they died and giving all this personal information in the comments when I'm doing live videos or just lives in general. And people have to remember and realize that it's a public platform. So these scammers realize that you're gullible and need a reading through the messages, through the extra information that you're giving in the comments. So I don't know what they do, but I imagine that they literally sit here and write down every username that just gave all this extra information out. Then they make the fake account, then they reach out to you, then they scam you for their money.
That's why I like that most of you guys are like, you'll put in your little bio that I will not reach out to you for readings. Like, you contact me, I don't reach out to you, because that's, I think, the one of the tell signs is if someone follows you and DMs you for a reading, then probably just that's not a thing.
And it almost kind of goes how you said earlier, where there's some readers who are like, hey, honey, or hey, love, hi, love. Hi. It literally starts off like that. Like, hey, love, I feel something towards you. I really feel that you need this reading. Give me $57.77 and I can do it for you right the fuck now. John, I thought you had left because on my screen you're frozen.
Oh no!
I'm possessed. I'm just joking.
And I'm like, oh, I think John stepped away.
No.
You've been frozen the whole time on my screen.
It happens a lot. We get a lot of weird shit happening when we do these. So.
Oh my god.
Anytime we talk about metaphysical stuff, like our screens start blipping out and like things go nuts, and it's like, okay, well, the activity is hot.
It just happened to me via Zoom for the first time ever the other day with a client. I had I use Zoom all the fucking time, and I've never had an issue with Zoom before, right? So here I am. I'm waiting for the client to come through into the Zoom meeting. I put them through, and they can't fucking hear me at all. All the mics are on. Everything's connected fine. I tried to transfer the headphones. It wasn't fucking working. I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? And then I started using my phone, and it still wasn't working on my phone. I'm like, what the? And I could tell that she was fine on her end too. It was weird. It was really weird. And I was a little worried coming into this because I'm like, fuck, what if my shit fucks the fuck up all over again?
It would be the norm here. So you'd fit right in.
It happens like, my electronics never work the way that they're supposed to.
Ours always messes up.
My TV, my phone, my iPad, my desktop, nothing ever works the way that it's supposed to.
You're the guy who can block out spirit. So that doesn't surprise me. Your energy just like, pew, sends it all crazy.
Yeah, it's weird. There's been moments, I've had experiences where it freaks me out a little bit because I've been driving late at night. You know, when you go out to a bar and you're drinking, you wait till you're sober enough to be driving, you know, because you don't want to be driving drunk or whatever. And there's been moments where I'm driving, it's dark as fuck, it's like 1, 2 in the morning, and I'll come up to one of the street lamps, and the street lamp will fucking turn off.
Oh.
I've had that issue growing up, my whole life growing up. Like, even walking down the street, and that shit would just happen. Like, it'd turn off. I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck? Yeah.
Maybe y'all have some curses on you. There's a lady on TikTok who will cure that for $56.
$75.99. No, I'll
$300.
I'll keep my curse. Thank you very much.
You are in luck.
I'll keep my curse.
I'll keep it. It's fine.
I've survived this long with it. Fuck
I was gonna say, if all it's affecting is
lifer.
the street lights, I'm good. Like, whatever.
Now it's my homie. We've been together so long. Me and the curse, we're homies.
Right? Like we're like conjoined twins. Like, I don't know.
That's so funny. I love that. That's crazy that you grew up with that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it was freaky too. Like walking through the parks and stuff. Because then my mind automatically goes to like, well, there's some crazy shit going on, and then start seeing stuff, and it's like fucking, I get in my head and it messes it all up. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Like, oh, that fire hydrant looks like a fucking monster right there. Oh shit!
Right? Like,
yeah.
I'm such a dork. All I can think of is like Harry Potter, Dumbledore taking out all the lights.
He's all yeah. See, she goes good. I'm fucking evil in my head here. Like, great.
Do you have any really big paranormal places around you?
Yes, I do. I have two that I frequent a lot over the summer. One of them is called The Gates.
Ooh.
And the story is that it used to be an all girls boarding school or something like that. And one day the principal went crazy and killed some of the students and chopped their heads off and literally put the heads on the gates.
Oh, sweet.
And I've had some creepy encounters there. And there's another place called Devil's Pool,
Ooh.
which is behind this cemetery, and the cemetery is haunted as well. It's a cemetery from the early 1800s.
Oh yeah.
So the latest tombstone that you'll find there is from like the 1920s, 1930s.
That's cool.
Behind the cemetery, it's a really small cemetery. Behind the cemetery, there is what they call the Devil's Pool, where supposedly devil worshippers go and do their sacrifices and stuff like that. And I've actually gone in all the way during the day to where the Devil's Pool is at. They have like cellars in the ground. I don't know how they made them. I don't know how they built them, but it's like a square big enough to fit like a good sized body. And if you look into the cellars, there's like couches there and they have their tables there. There's this little place where I assume is where they do their rituals. It's literally maybe like a 10 by 10 foot pond. And when I went, I was still in high school when I went all the way in there. They had the hood of a car, they had taken off the hood of a car and they had spray painted on the hood of the car, God is dead. And they had it sticking into the ground where that little pond was. And when we went there, I was like, this has to be where they do their motherfucking sacrifices.
Like, this is where the shit happens.
Yeah.
Do you ever, with those like kind of places, do you ever feel the energy is different?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel different. And sometimes you channel different situations, different things. But I try to, if it's negative, if it's bad, if it's not a good soul, if it's not a good spirit, it ain't allowed.
Yeah, your spirit gatekeep that.
Yeah, it ain't allowed. Don't let it happen, spirit team.
Got my back. Do you, when you're going to these kind of places, does your spirit team ever like give you sensations like you don't need to be here, like get out?
No, with my spirit team, it's very important that they still let me live my life and let me make my own decisions. I don't even do tarot readings for myself. Like, I just want to experience my life and do what I want to do, and I don't want to have to worry about being guided 24/7 unless I absolutely need it. When I go into these situations, I just go into them knowing that I'm protected and that nothing negative is going to happen to me, and that's it. I'm just there to experience.
You sound like me. I have big authority issues. I'm like, who are you to tell me what to do? You don't tell me what to do. I tell me what to do.
Right. I make my own decisions. I'm a grown-ass bitch.
Exactly. Yeah, I have those problems. And John thinks it's hilarious. Someone like tries to boss up on me a little, and I'm like,
You said what?
Face, yeah,
this is not going to end very well for you.
Hell no.
I just sit back and watch the disaster. I'm like, you're fucked, buddy. Like,
Fucked.
I'll just let it happen.
Just let it happen. John's like, where's my popcorn? Holy cow. Well, gosh, this has been awesome, Memo. I'm really glad you came on, and I appreciate you going overtime with us. Like, this has been so fun. You definitely brighten my day. I'm just like, yay.
yes.
And love to hear your laugh. You're amazing. You're a wonderful gift to the world, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. You guys are too.
All right, John, you want to bring us home?
I do, because my dog's squeaking in the background. She's like, I'm ready to go to bed. All right. Again, thank you everybody for watching this episode, listening to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your host. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. And I skipped something, but that's okay.
Until next time.
Until next time, motherfuckers. I'm joking.
Yeah.